Hello everyone, back here again. I have a special guest. He's one of my close friends. He hasn't been on the channel before, but he just started his YouTube channel. He does primarily cross-verse content with JJK characters, and that's exactly what we'll be doing today. His name is Zah. Say what's up.
Yo, hello?
Yes, sir. What's up, Zah? And like the title and thumbnail implies, this is going to be Boruto versus Gojo. Now, if you don't know a little history on why Gojo versus battle in particular is important, Gojo is a very, very winked off character because of one specific ability he has. He has this ability called Infinity, which basically creates this barrier that he shapes out of nothingness that prevents anyone from touching him. And this goes for attacks, whether that's physical or energy blasts. This goes for poisons, bugs, all of the sorts. He can block it. That makes it incredibly hard, even if you are stronger than Gojo, to kill Gojo or put Gojo down or win a versus battle. With that being said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let's begin. So first, since we already kind of mentioned Infinity, let's get a bit more context on what that exactly is. Now, Infinity in the JJK fan book is basically explained as under the limitless technique, anything that tries to approach this user will continue converging eternally. The Gojo clan's inherited technique is a barrier that manifests Infinity and prevents any contact. So, you may be asking what can bypass Infinity. We'll get through that later on in the video, but let's just say he has a barrier and cannot be touched for right now. That's his main ability and basically what he operates under 100% of the time. His Infinity is always active, it is passive, so nothing really can bypass unless it's under very specific circumstances. And like I said, he doesn't run out of energy, so, you know, it's not like Boruto can kind of wait till he's fatigued, because if we're being honest, he probably just has more stamina than Boruto. That gets on to his next ability, or the Six Eyes. Zah, you want to give us a little backstory on what the Six Eyes actually does?
The Six Eyes basically allows Gojo to control and see curse energy on an incredibly insane scale. This allows Gojo to use almost zero curse energy when using an attack, which also ties into his Infinity almost always being on. The reason I say almost is because there are actually some instances we see of him actually having to cut it on, like against Jogo when he blocks his bugs, and multiple times against characters during hidden inventory. And we even see him cut it on against Urahime when she throws water at him. This is because the Infinity is almost always wired to pinpoint dangers, but things like that aren't considered dangerous to him, which require him to actually manually activate it.
So like Zah said, he said something very important there. He said it's not actually always active, as it has to pinpoint and indicate what is dangerous for it to block it. That's how Gojo kind of breathes, and he's not just some guy suffocating within this imaginary barrier, right? So whatever his brain tells him that is dangerous, it will block it. That is a key detail you should remember throughout this entire video. It has to distinguish what is dangerous and what is not to block the attacks. Now, moving on to Gojo's speed, JJK does not get that fast, like just the verse in general. There's even a statement in the fan book where the author says one of the characters in one of the first arcs, when she grabbed a bullet, that was kind of too much, so she had to dial down the verse because she just doesn't want the universe to be that powerful, which is understandable, right? Your verse doesn't have to be like Dragon Ball levels destroying planets or universes all the time. Doesn't really matter. So one of the more recent speed feats that are actually quantifiable, that we can put like an actual number on, is when Maki is doing battle with Cursed Naoya. That is actually the last time, even though multiple chapters have been past that we actually get a quantifiable speed, like I said. But Zah will give more context and reasoning on that.
Like Troy said, there's this idea in JJK where sound speed is considered too fast for early points of the series, and even later on we have characters like Choso, who are special grade and considered mid to high tiers, relying on his piercing blood, which is only subsonic speed, and people like Yuji being able to react to it. There's also things like Inumaki's curse speech being considered a problem, and even working on high tiers like Uro. The fastest you can really get the verse is vaguely above Mach 3, since we know characters like Sukuna and Gojo basically scale over everybody, and even people like Maki can outspeed Naoya at his top speed. Now, while this would mean Gojo would be faster than Mach 3, we don't know by how much, and it wouldn't really matter for us to try to get a number on it.
So yeah, basically Gojo just has to be capped out at vaguely above Mach 3, that being the last quantifiable value we have for him, just because anything else we assert would kind of just be illogical and ignorance. And we can't really do that when scaling characters, because vagueness doesn't mean it has to be a feat. Moving on from that, the rest of Gojo's techniques are pretty straightforward. He has technique reversal red, which just basically generates the power to repel by infusing reverse curse energy into the power of limitless, Gojo's curse technique. And then he also has blue, which is basically the inverse or opposite of red. Like red repels things by infusing reverse curse energy into limitless, blue just basically pulls things in with the power of limitless. Then lastly, he has purple or hollow purple, which is basically the combination of red and blue to make this type of imaginary mass that destroys everything in its path. Now, to give a little more context on this ability, because people like to often wank this off to say that, oh, it's existence erasure and it'll basically negate any durability once put forth. This is actually false, because we see in JJK that yes, it is called imaginary mass, but people just assign the scientific theory of imaginary mass that it basically creates these particles that erase things from existence once they come into contact with it. No, we cannot say that Gege was thinking of this theory. It could just be that they're thinking of the words imaginary and mass normal definition, and it's just some kind of fake mass that we don't know what it does. To still kind of go against the theory or whatever that Gojo's purple disintegrates anything or just evaporates anything from existence, when we see its destruction paths, it often leaves rubble or like damaged trees and rocks. If it truly just erased things from existence, it would just be a clean path of destruction that just blew away the trees and rocks without a trace. But that's not what happened. Characters also regenerate often from purple. We see that with Hanami, and we also see that with Sukuna. And purple is also powered up, so if it truly did erase things from existence, he wouldn't have to power it up, as it would just negate everyone's durability. All of those reasons lead me to think that purple is not existence eraser and just a very powerful version of blue and red mixed, which is what it's explained to be. You also cannot assert that purple moves at light speed, despite what people think about this theory, because now that I've debunked the theory, and you can no longer say it applies to purple. Purple just should scale relative to Gojo and his opponents. Whoever reacts to it or dodges it, you know, you can take that how you will. Now on to Gojo's most powerful technique, and what is really the battle stopper for most people is his domain expansion. Now his domain expansion basically unloads infinite information onto your brain until it makes you not able to move, because you're experiencing everything in the world endless amount of times over and over, to the point where your body and brain just can't do anything. This renders you completely useless and could also kill you with a brain overload. He does have to do a hand sign for this, and it also deactivates his curse technique or infinity after it's used. So let's say he misses or someone tanks this ability and can actually just perceive and realize infinite information. He's kind of messed up and rendered useless because he can't use his curse technique. He can recharge it. We see that in the most recent chapter. He can recharge it with RCT, but that also takes time and it doesn't instantly activate. This can be canceled out by someone's own domain expansion, but like we're going to get into, that probably isn't needed. And it's kind of contentious whether other people can use domain expansions in other verses. You can argue they can based on the literal definitions of what they say on how you activate a domain expansion, like you have to realize your innate domain and basically bring it forth in reality. But for the sake of this debate, and for the sake of Gojo, we'll basically say no one else has a domain expansion besides him, so Boruto cannot do it. Now on to Gojo's actual attack potency and how hard he punches, or how hard his red, purple, and blue hit respectively. The highest scaling we have in the verse is basically a black hole that is stated to destroy the world. Now, regardless of what you think the definition of world is, whether it's society, whether it's planet, whether it's universe, and even though Gojo is stated the strongest over and over, he's kind of above everyone in the society, he doesn't have to scale above this specific attack to still be the strongest. This kills Yuki, and all he has to do is either cancel this out with some kind of hacksy ability, such as probably Infinity or something, or he can just be able to kill Yuki before she uses it, right? Because we know things that can hurt Gojo does not make other people as strong as him or stronger than him. Like if you had an inverted spear or something that can bypass Infinity, you could in theory kill Gojo, but he is still stronger than you, as in he probably outspeeds you or could easily destroy these tools. Regardless of the black hole feat, where Gojo actually scales to is let's use Sukuna or Jogo's maximum meteor. Maximum meteor is calced at multi-city blocked or large town level, and that was by someone vastly weaker than Gojo. Gojo should be able to do this way more times over than Jogo. And he also could scale to someone like Sukuna, who with his domain expansion in a weaker form, 15 finger, he was able to destroy most of Shibuya, which Gojo should also be stronger than that as well. So multi-city block to multi-town level is where Gojo should realistically scale in attack potency.
And like Troy said, even though we can't 100% prove Gojo scales to this black hole and things like that, for the sake of this video, we're going to be granting that he can. So everything like him having truly unlimited stamina, which we know to be false, and him being able to output these planetary levels of force will go through.
Now that Gojo's out the way with his very complex and 3 abilities that he has, let's get on to the contender. We have Boruto. Now we're going to be going over Boruto up to chapter 80 of the manga, as that's all that's out right now. Part 2 hasn't started. We're still awaiting the fabled time skip. But with that, we still have a lot to work off for Boruto. So starting with how we gave Gojo basically planetary level of force or planetary power, even though he doesn't really deserve it, Boruto is someone who, with Momoshiki's power and the karma ability, and becoming 100% Otsutsuki, and his various training throughout the series of Boruto, we see that how he's evolved past Momoshiki, or at least what Momoshiki could output normally in base, and surpass the likes of other Otsutsukis like Kaguya and Kenshiki. If you didn't know, people like Kaguya are beings who can create and destroy dimensions on a whim, whether you think these dimensions are planetary or solar system since they have a star, or Nai solar system, or even universal. All that the conclusion comes to is Boruto minimum can damage people like Kaguya. And he should have the power of Fuse Momoshiki as well, at least the attack potency of him, who should also just be minimum 2 times Kaguya, as it is fused of 2 beings who could hurt her and output similar levels of force. So to kind of make the solar system to above more consistent, people who are way weaker than Kaguya so much for it that they say it's unimaginable and a limitless difference or immeasurable difference in their power, are people like Kurama and the Ten Tails, 2 beings who Kurama can turn the world to ash, and Ten Tails in planetary quantity alone amount of chakra, also being able to destroy the world and cause world-ending cataclysm. Those beings are easily planetary already. So Kaguya having this star and being able to make entire time spaces and dimensions are pretty consistently above planetary, which Boruto, in his karma form and true essence of karma, should have all of the power and battle experience of Momoshiki. Momoshiki not only just being stronger than Kaguya, but also being a being who can create dimensions with entire redshift nebula and limitless amount of stars, and in the novels just create hyperspaces and absorb solar systems. But then again, we're gonna kind of keep Boruto grounded for this, so we're just gonna say star and solar system is around where he caps at, which is still enough to hurt Gojo at minimum. As for speed as well, he's just way faster than Gojo. Even though Gojo has the respected Mach 3 vaguely around that level, Boruto is easily into tiers of FTL, minimum light speed, which is hundreds to thousands of times to even millions of times faster than Gojo. So Gojo might not even be able to react or even perceive Boruto before he gets blitzed and just beat up. Now you're probably asking, why is he FTL? Well, in Naruto, even people in the early Shippuden ranges, such as Raikage, Haku, and people like that, all have light speed statement. Haku being able to shoot out of its ice mirrors at light speed, Raikage being able to lariat at light speed, Darui reflecting light beams off of water particles, and even Father Samurai with a little bit of Kurama's chakra being able to shoot light beams out of their swords. But even ignoring all of that, Madara, when he gets the Sage's 6 Paths power, has an ability called the Light Fang. Now, the Light Fang is just pure light. It's just pure chakra-based light speed stated in the data books, and Naruto dodges it point blank. So ignoring all of the feats for Naruto and Boruto, having this one feat still puts him at minimum light speed. People like Delta come along and they can shoot light beams as well. And Might Guy or 8 Gates Guy could bend space with sheer movement alone, that taking minimum light speeds and impressive mass. So even lowballing Boruto, he's minimum around star level and light speed. We're just gonna take the verbatim minimum of Boruto and put him up against Gojo. Now you may be asking the question, well, how does he get through Infinity? Because again, at the beginning of the video, I told you that's what makes Gojo versus battle so interesting. The fact that nobody could really touch him no matter the force, because Infinity, like we've explained throughout the video, is something that can't just be punched through. as it just stops you from getting closer to your opponent infinitely and diverges space between you and Gojo so that you never touch him. You can be 1 centimeter away from Gojo and you will never be able to make contact no matter what you can destroy. Boruto has 3 main ways of avoiding this or getting through infinity, quote unquote. The first is the easiest and most straightforward, just battlefield removal, because Gojo can teleport but he can't open portals and traverse dimensions. So if Boruto just encased him with a portal like he did Ishiki, or like Ishiki did Kawaki, or like Kawaki tried to do Boruto, it would simply go around the infinity and suck him into a dimension. This has been seen as a tactic majority of the time in Boruto with a bunch of Otsutsuki's and people he's battled, and Otsutsuki's collect battle data and store it within their karma so that can be inlaid upon Boruto even if he did not know. The second reason is kinda iffy, but if you take it the verse equalization, it will work as well. Since Limitless, or what Gojo is doing, is a curse technique and it brings something that wasn't real into reality, which makes it a physical barrier like the fan book says, he can possibly just absorb the barrier. And after the barrier is absorbed, Gojo won't have anything protecting him and Boruto can just Rasengan him in the stomach. The next way Boruto kind of can finish off Gojo is a vanishing Rasengan. Now, even though infinity is a barrier, we already explained throughout the video that it kind of has to recognize things as a threat and see it and like analyze it. Whatever it is, his brain or 6 eyes, we don't know, but it has to minimum recognize as a threat. So vanishing Rasengans, once they're thrown out of Boruto's hand, they kind of disappear. And heightened perception beings in Naruto, such as people with the Rinnegan, people with the Sharingan, even probably people with the Byakugan, no longer can even see or sense this chakra. They think it completely dissipates and it almost disappears just out of existence. Because we see it has like a delayed effect when Boruto throws it at the tree as if it just spawns there after it disappeared out of the physical realm. And Momoshiki even puts down his hand from absorbing it because he thinks that it's gone too, and he can sense chakra, and Limbo, a different realm of reality completely, can be seen by the Rinnegan, and the Rinnegan can't even see the vanishing Rasengan. So after the vanishing Rasengan disappears, I don't know how Infinity or Gojo's 6 eyes is going to analyze it to see if it's a threat, to kind of block it. It may be just seen the same as like oxygen and go through and just one-shot Gojo as well. The Karma Rift and vanishing Rasengan really are just the main ways to deal with Infinity and Gojo has nothing to stop it. Like, he has absolutely no way to even perceive the vanishing Rasengan, or Boruto for that matter, as Boruto is millions of times faster. Lastly, this one is kind of a theory or hypothetical. If you are one of the people who subscribe to the theory that Boruto has a time stop ability or Momoshiki can actually stop time, then he may very well just stop time and kill Gojo as well. That's another win con. And the only way I really see Gojo winning is if he probably had his domain and the domain inlaid infinite information onto Boruto's brain and kind of fried him out. But we don't know, maybe Otsutsuki's could handle infinite information on their brain, as they are beings with the capability of surviving for infinite amount of time and becoming immortal and transcending the 3rd dimension. Maybe he can just tank that. I'm not making any claims there, but maybe it actually just doesn't work. With that being said, this isn't a video to downplay Gojo or anything. I just kind of wanted to stop everyone from thinking that he's unbeatable and give ways that Boruto is able to defeat him. And more people requested this on Twitter and things like my community posts or even in my server. So I just wanted to grant them what they desired and have a video out for them. With that being said, don't forget to subscribe to Zah. He uploads, well, he's going to be uploading way more consistently. He just started his channel. There's going to be more videos on his channel, and me and him are also going to have a video on his channel coming. We don't know what it is yet, but, you know, stay in tune. Zah, you want to have any closing statements?
Like Troy said, this isn't to downplay Gojo or anything, but JJK as a whole just isn't that strong in comparison to other verses, especially Boruto and Naruto with their light speed feats and all this other stuff. But if you enjoyed me on this video, go over to my channel, you know, like, subscribe, check me out.
If you enjoyed cross-verse scaling and cross-verse videos, there's going to be more coming in the future. But like, comment, subscribe, and goodbye.